Today we are talking about one of the most beloved and hated characters in all of Cuisine Royale. This character has seen many nerfs over the past years because you can do things like this.
Get out of here, man! Let's go!
And things like this. Get off me! Being able to slow down time and make kids rage every single game. I am Young Yoko for Yoko Gaming, and in this video we're going to be showing you the guide to Annie and how she can be completely broken. Alright, before we get started, if you would please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it. We're trying to hit our goal of 10 likes for this video, as we're doing a couple guides on all these characters, so if you are curious about another character, don't be afraid to check it out here. But first, let's go in and deep dive into Annie pinup Ashley. Alright, so Annie's ability is bullet time. You can temporarily slow down the personal time flow, creating a time paradox, which will facilitate shooting at moving targets. But bear in mind, the time flows faster for everyone else and they can kill you while you are aiming. In this state, you will see your enemies brighter. Now, if you checked out the clips that I showed off in the beginning of the intro, you will notice that the enemies involved were having this ominous red glow. And that does happen when you go into bullet time. It's kind of crazy technical. This is one of the only games, maybe Prince of Persia, where I've actually seen this used before, but it actually creates like a buffer and actually gives you frame advantage, slowing down the other people's frame and being able to shoot or carry out a melee attack in this time. It's actually really insane. And at first, a lot of people just wrote her off because it's not a very straightforward ability, but then you really get into it and really try to optimize her, and you'll see why some of the top streamers still use Annie today. Alright, as far as building Annie, it's still personal choice. You know, if you've watched the other videos, if you know me personally, for the mask, there's a couple things you can do. You can always go for the slot machine. I will say for Annie, because of the latest nerf, making her ability cost 100 souls, I would highly recommend the medical mask, as it does cost 20 less souls to use the ability, making it a little bit more spammable and a little bit more tasteable in the beginning rounds, because everybody knows that first kill sometimes can just be the hardest. With mystical traps and with mystical signs itself, there's nothing that really complements her per se. There's nothing that I would completely recommend except the big three, which is the zombies, the nighttime, you know, the bigger ones that I always recommend. So definitely check out that. You want to do the zombies, you want to do the Heaven's Wrath, and you want to do some kind of trap or even a throw aside to get you closer, because she does lack mobility. One of the things that sets her apart from everyone else is that she's stuck. Viper can flash away, Thor can go up in the air, Ocelot can go invisible, Beast Mode can run away. She's your only stagnant character, so I would really recommend this to people that are coming from CSGO, from people coming from PUBG, people who are really adept to just first-person shooters, because she's a completely like honed in, just firing kind of one-dimensional character in that aspect. It doesn't mean she's bad, she actually has a huge advantage in my opinion, it's just the way it is. Okay, boxers, you guys know I do the same. I love getting the maracas panties, getting 12 souls for every 60 seconds in a battle. It definitely helps. Or stuffing your face with food and getting souls. This one can actually be a lot better if you're a little more high tier. But with her being slow and not having any mobility, you're spending a lot of your time running around. And so I think this one will be a little bit better in the long run. Gadgets, we don't really need gadgets. Tombstones don't matter because we're not going to die. Cameraman, I always recommend the mosquito. Self-expression, feel how you feel. And melee weapon, always be sure to try to get a epic hammer. I know sometimes in the workshop it can cost a little bit of money, but if you keep working on it, you'll definitely earn enough money to get what you need. And trust me, you definitely want an epic melee. Those differences between like the knife where it takes 30 hits, you'll know a difference. But now let's hop into practice and see what bullet time looks like in action. Alright, now that we're in practice mode, let's go over bullet time. Now, as I mentioned before, she has seen some nerfs over the last couple updates and even over through the years. And basically what it did was it took the soul count needed to activate the ability all the way up to 100 souls. So that's why I recommend using the surgical mask to take it down to 80. Now, when in bullet time, everything slows down and all the enemies will be painted a bright, beautiful red, which you are able to freely do whatever action you want. Mainly shooting, meleeing, running away, even if that's what you felt like doing. Basically anything you'd want to do. Now, during bullet time, it lasts a total of 15 seconds. You are not penalized if you only shoot once and then don't shoot again. So if you're using a sniper rifle per se, you're also not penalized if you decide to do nothing. You always have your 15-second counter, and it has a 50 to 55 second refresh. I believe it's about 50 seconds, all the testing I've done. So it is one of the longest, if not the longest, in the game. And I mean, you can kind of see why. I mean, during this time, everyone else would be completely slowed down and you would just be decimating everybody. There's not much to say about Annie. She has a couple of tricks up her sleeve, but there's not much to really complement the bullet time. Like I said, I would lean towards mobility because she's a very stagnant character in the way that she plays. She's very gun focused. And so you definitely want to have something that can move her along and keep up with the other ones, right? Tracking down a Viper and everything else, it's kind of hard. Now, having said that, even Thor up in the sky, if you click bullet time, will slow his descent. It will slow Beast if he's running. It won't slow Viper's blinks, but it will slow her as she comes out of it on that 2 second where she's coming back onto the normal ground. And Ocelot as well. It does slow him coming out of his ability, but it doesn't slow him when he's inside of the ability or if he's going into it. So there is some startup frames. I believe the first frame does not register for bullet time. The first couple of seconds there, the first second in particular. So you can still be hit right out of it. And the last one where you're kind of doing that shuffle where you're speeding right back up. This is the game trying to get you back in line with everybody else. And so you're doing this little crazy shuffle. But this is Annie. I would highly recommend it. She's definitely a top contender. A lot of the streamers have been using her. A lot of people have their own strategies, and that's great. You know, kind of like fighting games. The worst tier character can still be taken to the championship. But she has a harder learning curve, trying to figure out the mobility, getting around the map. But I think she's definitely a good new welcoming character for people that are coming from like FPS shooters, people who are not used to all these abilities and everything else. They're just kind of used to maybe Warzone or something like that, for example. She's definitely a go-to character. She's definitely seemed a lot more familiar as she's centered just completely around gunplay. Now, being relying completely on gunplay, I myself do have different settings as far as my controls. I do use aim acceleration. Stop. Just because I use it does not mean you should use it. And in fact, aim acceleration requires a lot of time and effort and is definitely not for everybody. So that one just annex, that one's just for me personally. But I do keep my mousing speed under 1 when I use Annie, usually about a 0.9. Aiming sensitivity even less because when I bullet time in, everything's going to be already slowed down and I'm just making minuscule movements. My third person, first person, I don't really mess with these too much because I don't really change these too much. I mean, first person I might go up and down. Third person I may go up and down. Generally I keep them above 1.2 or 1.3 just to have that swingy movement so that I can look around when I need to. The aim acceleration also helps that. So if I know someone's right behind me, and then I can just bullet time and do whatever I want and not worry about this being completely crazy. All right, some tips and tricks with Annie. The best way to use Annie is with a automatic, whether it be a rifle or an SMG, because it's gonna slow down time and you're able to pump more rounds into your targets a lot more accurately. Now that does not mean you shouldn't use a sniper rifle, unquote single shot rifle or anything like that. And in fact, I'll show you they can still absolutely still be deadly. Just like this. Woo. But in my opinion, you're gonna get more bang with your buck if you use an automatic. At least in the later games. Early on, I understand there's a lot more single shots that may be readily available to you, depending on where you fall on the map, and so this may be all you have. It is great for long range sniping. Do not be afraid to spam it. And especially if you're unsure about your shot or unsure about the weapon, because there is a ton of weapons here and it does take a while to get the recoil pattern right, especially on PC. All right, guys, I hope that guide helped you. Don't forget to hit the like button. We're going for the goal of 10 likes. Don't be afraid to share it to your friends. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. I am Yoko for Yoko Gaming. Stay fierce.